The Peugeot e-208 is set to arrive on our roads in January 2020. It's promising 340 kilometers of driving range thanks to its 50 kilowatt hour battery, while its 136 horsepower engine should mean it's nippy enough for living in towns and cities. Could be a great first electric vehicle for a lot of people. Not to mention, it's actually an extremely stylish car. I don't think the Renault's always going to have it all that easy. So the styling of this GT version looks really smart. It's got this really vivid blue color, and you have this extra gloss black panels around the wheel arches, on the boot spoiler and the window frames as well. The wheels look especially smart. They're not fully enclosed. They still keep quite a sporty look to them. These are the 17-inch ones. And I think overall the proportions of the e-208 look really, really cool. It's got a couple of unique features. So the grille, for example, has this blue element to it. It is still a functioning grille. It's not entirely blanked off, but it's quite a nice 3D sort of finish to it. And obviously you have these very distinctive LED headlights with this daytime running, like these kind of fangs that come down. You can kind of see in this light the sculpted bonnet, and so you've got the 208 badge on the front as well, which is a really nice nod to some of the original cars. This one also has the contrasting black roof and painted black door mirrors as well. They also include indicators built into them as well, and they electrically fold in when you lock the car. Now, because we're only spending a very brief time with the e-208 today, we won't go into too much detail about what it's like to drive, although you can find a review by our colleague Matt on CompleteCar.ie. What I will do is just go through some of the numbers. So it has 136 horsepower, 300 newton meters. It's good for a top speed of 150 kilometers an hour. Now that's not huge, but it's certainly going to be enough to keep up with any motorway traffic and doing the odd overtake. The 0 to 100 time is 8.1 seconds, which is fine. It's quick enough. It's not blisteringly quick, but it's going to be more than adequate, I think, for most people. Now, it's, as I said, it's got a 50 kilowatt hour battery. The usable capacity of that is actually 45.3 kilowatt hours. It comes with a 7 kilowatt onboard charger, which with a wall box will charge in about 7.5 hours. You do also get a CCS type standard charger as standard, and that will charge to 80% capacity in around about 30 minutes. Actually, I'll give you a quick look at that. So it uses the same charge port as all the other ones. So that's where it just pops in there, and you can also set timers and you can lock it, and that's your extra flap. It just pops in there. Interestingly, it's not tethered on like it usually is on some cars, although I will give Peugeot a little bit of defense in saying that what I'm driving today is actually a pre-production version, so it's not the final car, although it's about 98% of what people will actually get when they get theirs. One other unique thing with the e-208 is that it gets this e-badge on the C-pillar. So many of the other models get GT line or get different badging there. The e-208 gets this quite trendy kind of blue e-badge on the side. Also, around the back, it has some very nice LED tail lights, this being the GT model, and there's your e-208. Now, Peugeot is understandably proud of the fact that the e-208 doesn't suffer when it comes to boot space. It gets the same amount of room as the petrol or diesel versions. So that means it's a 311 litre boot that can increase to 1,106 litres by folding down the split rear seats. They have a 60-40 split. Boot's fine. It's reasonably easy to get in at, though you don't have a huge amount of storage hooks or things to latch onto. And then beneath you have a tire inflation kit. No spare wheel with this car. So the 208 only comes as a 5-door hatchback. That means getting in and out of the back is pretty easy. You're never going to have to be folding down or folding forward the front seats. Now this has the top spec GT model, so it has very much an upgraded interior, as you can see from this part leather and kind of a wool fabric material. Looks really, really smart. There's some cool details like this contrast green stitching in it. There is a little bit of a transmission tunnel, not a transmission tunnel, but there's a little bit of a hump in the middle here. It's not huge, so it's not going to get too much in the way, but as you can see with any car this size in this segment, the middle seat is always going to be a little bit pinched. Now headroom isn't too bad, and there's two bright LEDs up there. You also get two normal USB charge ports in the back of this one, which is kind of handy for keeping things topped up. Leg room and knee room is pretty good, not massively generous, but if you're only going to be in this sort of car for a short spin, you're probably not going to have too much cause for complaint. You've got quite slim door cards here with a small, you've got a small armrest and enough to get a small cup just in there. I'll give you a quick look at the inside because you might not be familiar with what modern Peugeots are like, so it may seem a little bit different. It has this Cockpit design. Now this is a newer version here, which I'll show you in a second, but it also has this quite small steering wheel compared to what you see in other cars traditionally in this sort of size, but I'll explain that in a second. This has pretty sporty seats, and like in the back, this particular model, which is the GT version, has this part leather and this very, very nice wool and fabric upholstery in it. It looks really good. It is bright and it's grey, but I actually don't think it's too bright in that you're going to be constantly cleaning it and having to look after it. So that's kind of nice. Although you do only get manually adjustable seats, which is slightly disappointing. Now I will show you the Cockpit because this is quite neat. As you can see, because you have this smaller steering wheel here, it's very easy to hold. You still have all your controls on it, so you've got your volume controls, you can scroll through different things here, and you've got some phone functions, and you get some GT badging on the bottom just to remind you that this is the top spec one. But the whole idea is when you're sitting comfortably in the car, that this is effectively at my eye line. So the dashboard, the instrument clocks are above the steering wheel, so you always have a clear and easy view of it. Now, as you can see, this has, I don't know how easy this is going to be to pick up on camera, but there's actually basically you've got two layers, and it gives you this 3D effect. So if you look at the car display, you can see that the car display is kind of floating in front of me, and it's moving around. So you can probably see, if you look at the side of it now, you can see how it's changing. And it's the same with the speedometer as well. So the important things are kind of brought to the fore of your field of vision. Very easy to see. As this gets a slightly different display to the conventional combustion engine cars. So you have on the right side here, you have your power, eco and charge, so it lets you know when you're using a power or when you're regenning. You have an actual display of the battery in the car. So as you can see here, it's just over half full, which correlates with what's here beside. So you have your battery range here, showing 180 kilometers with half a charge. That's actually been going up because whoever was driving the car before me was being a little bit more spirited, shall we say, in their driving. But it's quite a nice feature, actually. It gives you some cool kind of a little bit of a different look to how you can do it. As you can see here, it's actually, you can see it just comes out and around. So it gives you this really 3D depth of field, and then your indicators pop up on this side. You've got a starter button here as well, and you've got this, I'm going to say faux carbon fiber, but it does actually look pretty smart. You have pretty much the standard infotainment system from the rest of the Peugeot range. Mostly it's pretty good. You've got a sat-nav system here. The only annoying thing I find, which is again, it's a bit of a tired criticism at this stage, but you've got to kind of go into the menu function to get the controls. If you want to change the temperature, which is a little bit annoying, so you can do this and then you can pop it down That's fine. It's just I would rather have a little button on it, just be a little bit easier. You have so along here you have these actual buttons, and then you have a second layer of buttons on the top here, and then you have these touch sensitive buttons for your heated seats here as well. So you can see here, you can go into all the detail then of the car in terms of your charge, your statistics, all these kind of things, and it'll give you an energy flow as well. You do get a standard gear selector just here. It's very easy to use, very straightforward, nicer to use actually than what's in the Renault Zoe. And with this you also get, you can probably just see, you've got a normal USB charge port here and a USB-C on this side, so you get both. And this panel then pops out and you have a wireless charging pad in here. The only thing I found that my phone slid around a little bit on it, so it didn't charge all that well. But you can also then have your phone sit on this little ledge here, so you can have your phone sit sideways if you were using Google Maps or you just wanted to have it there. Obviously you can use the connected services on the screen. The dashboard, from the passenger perspective, it's all quite driver centric, so even this screen is kind of tilted a bit towards me. So from a passenger perspective there's not quite as much to look at, but it's really nice, I think, the way they've done this sculpted out dashboard that flows into the driver's seat. I think it looks especially smart. Big fan of that. And again, you've got this lime green contrast stitching, which is on this model. There are other options available, so don't worry if that's not your thing. There are other choices available. You also get, I should have said, you also get a 12 volts power socket here, and you have two cup holders below, just here in the center column, and you also have drive modes, so you can go through your different drive modes then as well as you go along, and electric handbrake. So that's a quick first look at the interior of the new Peugeot e-208. So there you go, that's our first look at the Peugeot e-208. Hope you found the video informative. We've gone through some of the main details of what it's really like. You can find a full detailed review of what it's like to drive on CompleteCar.ie, so please go and check that out. You'll find a link to that below in the description. And also, we'd love if you gave the video a thumbs up and liked it. We'd also really appreciate it if you took the time to get involved in the comments below and let us know what you think about the car. Do you think it's going to be something that you'd have perhaps over a Renault Zoe? Is 340 kilometers enough of a driving range, or do you think there should be more? And obviously we'd love if you would take the time to subscribe to the Complete Car YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and please remember, get involved in the comments below if there's anything else you'd like to know about it. Cheers.